All right, so today we're going to be looking at bearings and navigation. So the previous lesson we saw how we can use the wording of elevation and depression to help us set up a worded problem or a practical application of our TRIG rules. So bearings is another way of describing the angle as well. So we're going to be using this as well to describe the angle so that we can set up a scenario and obviously a triangle and then solve a problem. So what we're going to be looking at when we do the bearings is we're only going to do these what we call is a true bearing. So a true bearing is when you've got your compass, so you've got your north, south, east and west, okay? So a true bearing is always you start at the north, okay? So true bearings is you start at north and then you go clockwise, okay? So you can see we're going to go that way around the thing. So what we're looking at, so if I was looking at this first one here, so you're starting at this north line and then you go until you hit the line they're talking about. So if you look here, if we can see when we've got our compass there, it's like if between north and east is a right angle So how many degrees in a right angle? 90. So if you're saying there's 62 in this bit here, what would this bit in here be? You're going to do 90 minus 62, which is going to be 28. All right, so maybe you might just want to write that. So we did 90 minus 62 and we got 28. So we know in here is 28 degrees. So that if we were saying we want to do the true bearing, now the true bearings are three-figured numbers. So when we have at only 28, we only have a two-digit number, we need to put a 0 in front of it and it would be it'd be 28 degrees and we put a T for true. Okay? So this is how we're going to do it. Now, if you look here, so if we look at this next one, so remember we're always going to start at north, and what we're going to do is we keep going around until we hit where we're talking about. So if you look here, if you've got a straight line, how many degrees is that? 180. Yeah, that's 180. Good. Now down here in this square we'd have 90 again. So if you take away the 60 on that other side, what are we going to be left with? In here, yeah, this is going to be 30 in there. So a total true bearing will be the 180 plus the 30. So what's the true bearing going to be? 210 degrees true. Okay? If we look at the next one, so we've got to start from the north and we're going to go all the way around. So if you did a full circle, how much would it be? So if we could do 360 minus the 45, and what are we going to get? 315, okay, degrees true. So if I do that, I get 315 degrees. Okay, all right, I'm going to pause it. You guys, what do you think the last one is? Okay, so now we're going to look at how we can use the bearings to set up our scenarios. So let's have a look. A group of bushwalkers leave a point P. So what you're going to do, the best way to start, so you can see down here they've got point P. When you get these bearing questions, it's always a good idea to just put a nice, just use your pencil, put a nice light compass. So you know that's north and so on. So when they then describe the angle, it can make it a little bit easier. So they start at point P, which runs north and south. So there you can see the red line is running north and south. That's what they've done. And they walk 30 kilometres on a bearing of 20 degrees. So you can see our 20 degrees, we're going to start from our north line and we go to the line that they're walking out on. So there's 20 degrees. And then they said that they walk out here. So they've walked out here for 30 kilometres. Okay, so here they're saying what is the shortest distance from X, and they've labelled it for us, from Q back to the road. So they're saying that red road, the red line was a road. So if we go, let's go and do part A. So we've got the red road along here. They walked out for 30 kilometres. And we also know that the angle they walked out on was 20 degrees from north, which was this red line. Now, the question is, they want to know if they were going to go back to that red road, like directly go walk back, say they're going to go back there, they want to know what X is. So we can see we've created a right angle triangle there. So we can now label it up like we normally did. What side is this X when I label opposite? Good. And what side is this 30 kilometres? Hypotenuse. So if we write SOHCAHTOA on the top of our page, which one are we doing? Good. So sine angle equals O over H. Then we're going to write sine 20 equals X over 30. And then we can pop solve in our calc and comma X and work out what X is equal. Okay, so we've done the solve. Now, you should always be checking. We want to check. It says 1 decimal place. So I got 10.26, so I'm going to write 3. And we're talking about, they said they were walking in kilometres or whatever. So I'm going to say kilometres there in my answer. So I'll put a box around the answer and there we go. Let's look at B now. Now, looking from point Q, so we're now over here at Q, what would the 3-figure bearing be of their standing point? So what you want to do is how I said, so we're over at point Q. If you draw your compass on point Q, so remember if you're trying to find a true bearing, you go from north, you go all the way around to the line that we're talking about. So that would be there. Now, if you think about it, we know that, say, how many degrees in a triangle? 180. All right, so if you've got 90 here and we've got 20 there, what does that make this angle in here? 70? Good. So if that in here is 70, then what is my true bearing? I've got the 180. Oops. Plus this little bit in here, which would be 20. So the true bearing is going to be 180 plus that 20 bit, which is going to be 200 degrees true. All right, so a ship left a port and sailed east for 5 kilometres, then sailed north. At some time, an observer at the port could see the ship at the bearing of 50 degrees. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with I'm going to say here's the port. I'll call it P. And I'm going to draw a little compass. And then now I'm going to draw more of a solid line as I see what happens. So they travelled east for 5 kilometres. So east's along here. So I'm going to draw out there. And I'll say, okay, So I've gone and draw a line out here, and that's east 5 kilometres. Okay, so then they're at this next point here, and then they said they sailed north for, so the east, and then they sailed north. So we don't know how far they went, but we know they went north, okay? So now here is where we've got our little ship, okay? So then they said after some time, an observer at the port. So here, the observer's here at the port, okay? And they said they could see the ship at a bearing of 50 degrees. So what you've done, if you've got I'll do the purple, here's your observer. They're looking out at this boat, okay? And what they're saying is that they can see them at a bearing of 50 degrees. So remember, a bearing always goes from north until you get to the line. So they're saying that there is 50 degrees, okay? So then the first part of the question is, how far north has the ship sailed? So how far north would you agree, would be up here, like in level with this, yeah? So we can really say it's the same as that line there. So hopefully you can see we could set up our triangle to solve this. We know that this is 5 kilometres. And when you go, you can see we've created a right angle triangle there. Now, if this guy's 50 degrees in there, what does this angle in here going to be? It's going to be 40, isn't it? Because it's got to add up to 90. So you've got that. And this is going to be how far north they are, that side over there. So I'll just call ends like my question, how far north there. So now I've got a triangle. Let's work it out. What side is that N in terms of this triangle here? It's opposite, good. And what side is this one? Adjacent, good. So at the top of my page, to help me out, I put the SOHCAHTOA. And what formula has O and A? Tan, good. So I'm going to write tan theta equals O over A. Then I'm going to write tan 40 equals, I've called it N over 5. Remember, we can pop that in our calc, and we're going to know how far north it was, which is, okay, so let's go check what decimal place they want. So 1 decimal place. So I got 4.19, so that becomes 4.2, and they were talking in kilometres, so there's my answer for there. Now let's go for B. So B says looking from the ship. So we're over here at the ship, and if we did our little compass there, that would be the ship's compass. Looking from the ship, what would be the 3-figure bearing? So that is when we go from north all the way around to there. So really we can see if you've got a straight line, that's 180. How can I work out what this angle is in there? Because the bearing's going to be that 180 plus this one that I've marked like that, okay? So someone's saying, well, if this is 40, 90, then this one's going to be 50. So that's where they're getting that. So we're going to say 180 plus 50. What would that be? 230 degrees true. There's our 3-figure bearing.